Hey dudes, this is Darlene Vogel, Spike in Back to the Future Part 2, and you're listening to Tommy Throwback Kovac on Splat from the Past. What's wrong, Tommy? You got no scrote?
Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming Robert Krantz. You all know Robert Krantz. He was the star of Paradise Motel, the 1985 teen sex comedy movie. He is best known as the guy who stands behind Michael J. Fox alongside Shirley MacLaine's daughter, Sachi Parker, in Back to the Future and says, "That's George McFly." And I'm having him on the show today to talk about all of that. He was also in Winners Take All. He guest starred on Who's the Boss, 21 Jump Street, Matlock. He wrote a movie called Do You Want to Dance? And he just made a movie recently called Faith, Hope, and Love. I think he left the business for a long time and now has come back making films. And we're going to talk about all that stuff today. And I can't wait. It's going to be pretty awesome. The 35th anniversary of Back to the Future celebrated today. So, here is my interview with Robert Krantz. Hey, Robert.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing all right.
Well, this is such a great honor. Thank you for taking the time.
It's just me. It's just me.
Well, so, going back in time, did you gravitate toward acting early on in your childhood?
No. No. It's the weirdest thing. I don't think the thought never even crossed my mind until I was a senior in high school. That was the first time it ever crossed my mind. I have a distinct recollection of I had been playing basketball for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
And when that was done, I thought, what the heck, what am I going to do that's going to take the place of that intensity and discipline I was doing and reward and all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
There was some school assembly, and I remember doing something, and the audience laughed. And I think that was the first moment I went, oh, what was that? But then I went to college, and I was a pre-law major, but I took an introduction to acting class.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really the beginning of it. It was senior high school and freshman year in college, and that's kind of where I started to think about it.
Nice. But you had never at least done a school play before then?
Never.
Wow. Where are you from originally?
A small town called Elm Grove, Wisconsin.
Nice. I heard you say in a recent interview that your introduction to the film business had been you worked as a PA on the Robert Mitchum movie Night Kill.
Yeah, that was my first. I think that was my sophomore year,
mm-hmm.
college. A movie happened to be Night Kill was coming to Arizona, and one of my fraternity brothers' mother was the location scout, and they said they're looking for PAs. So I volunteered, but I had a full load. I was president of the fraternity. I was in a bunch of organizations, but I just thought, man, I got to seize the moment. You know, you look back now, you go, I wonder if that film had never come there. I don't know that I would have ever gone in this profession.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have. But I got on the film, worked on it, got sicker than a dog. I mean, so sick because I was completely, between school and all that, I was so sick. But I just wouldn't give up the job, you know. And so,
mm-hmm.
And at the end of that, the producer, David Gill, said to me, I said, well, what do I do now? And he said, you either go to New York, go to NYU, or go to USC's film school. Get into one of those film schools. And by the most unbelievable set of circumstances, oh, my God. I ended up getting into USC's film school, but just by the skin of my teeth. And I was the worst student there. I remember the first day of filming in the class, we had a report any questions or issues that came up. And I raised my hand. I go, how do I focus the camera? Mm-hmm. And everyone just died laughing, except Mel Sloan, the teacher. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you maybe one other teacher's name the entire time I was there, but I remember Mel because I remember he didn't laugh at me. He took it like it was the most serious question anybody had asked him. And I ended up getting the highest grade in the class. Not because I was good, because they graded you on how much you improved. I improved a lot.
Wow. So were you on the trajectory of becoming a filmmaker then?
You know, it was a combination of two things. One, my parents and perhaps even myself were not ready for the shock of, hey, I went out to California, I'm going to become an actor. I think no one was ready for that shock. But the other thing was I knew early on that I wanted to do like Warren Beatty and Paul Newman and all those guys were doing, which was writing, producing, and acting. I knew that early on that would be where I was headed. So going to film school taught me editing. It taught me writing, a little lighting, not acting. I would take acting classes at night. Mm-hmm. So it was really beginning to prepare for ultimately where I'm at now.
Wow. And then when you got to L.A., did you study with any prominent teachers out there?
I was fortunate enough to study with what I think are the greatest acting teachers ever. The greatest acting teacher, I think, well, I'll tell you a funny story. Gosh. When you're in film school, you have a thesis film. That's your whole grade, right?
Yeah.
So they used to have a saying, if you got held up, you'd say, take my wallet, take my car, take anything. Just don't take my film. That's all you have.
Yeah.
And what happened, I would be at USC at film school, and I would finish classes and whatever, and I'd go to the library and I'd study. I'd look up all the great actors and go, who did they study with? That's who I wanted to study with.
Yeah.
So one day I was in there looking up all the names, and one name kept coming up, Stella Adler. Mm-hmm. Looked, and it was Stella had taught Brando, De Niro, Warren Beatty, and she was still alive. And I thought, okay, that's where I got to get to. But the punchline of the story is I went to my locker shortly thereafter, and my film was not there. And I was thinking, oh, God, your heart just sinks. And I think it took me, I don't know if it was a day or an afternoon or whatever, but I found out somebody was using it for leader in their film because I had left it out. And that told me right then and there that my heart was in acting. A filmmaker would never leave his film out. And it just showed me my mind was elsewhere. It was in acting. And so I started leaning more towards that way at the front end of all this. And I was fortunate enough to study with Stella Adler, who I consider to be the greatest. Right there next to her is Peggy Fury, Fury, God rest her soul, passed away in the middle of my studying with her. It was actually towards the tail end of it. And it was everybody from Sean Penn, Chris Penn, Michelle Pfeiffer, Meg Ryan, Evan Cage. They were all in those classes. And so you were studying with that generation's best actors. And then beyond that, Bobby Lewis was another phenomenal teacher. And beyond that, I probably had 3 or 4 other. Candy Herman, who's not as well known, but brilliant teacher. And I put in just thousands of hours just studying, watching, learning. And there was a moment in one of those classes that was kind of a life-changing moment for me. There was a scene I was doing, and I think I was in this scene in this play. I was supposed to have captured this woman, and there's a scene taking place in this apartment after I'd captured her. Mm-hmm. Remember, the actress said to me ahead of time, right before we were going to do the scene, she goes, I just don't believe what you're doing.
Yeah.
Think of Mickey Rourke. So we got on stage. Yeah. I was so ticked off. And the intensity level of that scene went way up. And as I was going by her at one point, somehow I hit the chair she was on, because she was tied to a chair, and she fell. And I remember when she fell, my initial instinct was, oh, crap, did you hurt? Are you okay? Everything all right? But I thought, no, we're in the middle of the scene. She looks like she's fine, and we got to keep going. And I remember after like 30 seconds, she just screamed out, I got to stop, Robert. And she ran off. And it was like a mob scene at the loft where Peggy was teaching. Everyone was just like, oh, you know, some of the guys were pissed at me, and all this was just crazy. And I remember Peggy stopped and said, hey, look, told the actress, don't ever do that again. You're in a safe environment here. There was no reason to do that, and you did not need to panic like that.
Yeah.
And later that night, I came back from the night classes to observe them.
Yeah.
So wrung out from what had happened, I was leaving early, and I was walking down these long steps to leave the loft. I heard my name, and I turned around, and it was Peggy Fury at the top of the steps.
Yeah.
I said, Robert. And I said, yeah, and she said, don't ever apologize for what you did today. That's what every actor's trying to get to. And I said, thank you. And I think it was 2 days later, I got my first paying job, and it was on the TV show Hotel.
Yeah.
And I was elated. I was just like, oh my God. And the phone rang, and it was a friend from the class. He said, are you sitting down? I said, no. She said, yeah, you probably sit down. I said, no, I'm totally fine. Don't worry. And he told me that Peggy passed away.
Oh, boy.
There was something about that whole 48 hours, 24 hours, I can't remember what it was, but I never cried that hard. I never cried that hard in my life.
Yeah.
Losing her. But those are my teachers. Peggy, Kenny Herman was great, and the great Stella Adler. I was fortunate to have those teachers.
I've talked to a lot of people who studied with Peggy Fury, John Philbin, Corinne Boyer.
What a phenomenal actor.
Yeah. Nicole Panther, who ended up not pursuing acting, but she'd been in the Pee Wee Herman show. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people who studied with her.
Was in my classes. He was a great actor. Really great actor.
Yeah. And so, I mean, she taught a lot of great people.
Yeah, and did it with such incredible humility. I mean, really just, man, I learned a lot about life with her. And I think the thing that always, I don't know what the word is, always stuck with me and haunted me. I knew when I was acting in front of her, for whatever reason, I always felt she thought I was special. I didn't know why. I just didn't know why. I thought, what is it you see in me that thinks you have all these great actors, and why do you always look at me like I'm special?
Mm-hmm.
She really loved something about me, and I remember when she passed away, one of her daughters came up to me and said something to the effect of, she really loved you. And I never knew why.
Yeah, I guess she saw something in you, and she saw something in, a lot of people she taught.
Yeah, I loved her. Boy, I miss her. Boy, was she special.
Yeah. Were you in The Woman in Red?
I was. It was one of the first jobs I got, and I think it was maybe the second job I got, and I walked by, and Gene Wilder was the director, and my line is, Doctor, are you staying for lunch?
Yeah.
And the other actor, the lead actor, I remember he could not. I remember Gene Wilder saying to him, what are you doing? What are you playing? I'm lost. I'm confused. How are you playing this? And then he turned to me and he goes, great job. And I started laughing. He goes, oh, you don't realize how one line will screw up a scene. He goes, great job. He was so kind to me. And I loved him. He was so kind to me. And that may have been very close to one of my first. I can't remember if that came first or if Paradise Motel came first. I can't remember which one.
Mm-hmm. Did you do that up in San Francisco?
No, I was here when we did it. They were on a soundstage, studio stage, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I know the movie was shot mostly in San Francisco. That's where
they did their stuff up there, and I think the soundstage stuff we did down here.
Yeah, that's where I'm from, San Francisco. So then we get to Paradise Motel. Was that a standard audition for you?
No. In fact, I just did an interview on this that we're going to put out, but that was, a lot of what I do are faith-based films.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of, I just think, well, for whatever reason, that's what God has called me to do. And I talked about Paradise Motel, which originally was called New Kid in Town.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was, at that time, there was a TV show called Hill Street Blues, which was hugely successful. And Stephen Bochco was the executive producer of it, the lead guy, and he is doing a spinoff called Bay City Blues. And Bay City Blues was going to be such a big hit. They put eight shows guaranteed. They didn't even do a pilot because it was Bochco, and he was so successful. So everybody wanted to get on that show, and including me. And it involved baseball, and so you had to do all these baseball tryouts and all these auditions. I kept going, and I was making it through after a couple months of auditions. And at the same time, someone, to this day, I don't know who it was. I may have done it. I don't think my agent did it because there was no money in it. But somebody had submitted me for New Kid in Town. And they started calling me. So I was getting called back. So at the same time I'm getting called back from New Kid in Town, I'm getting called back for Bay City Blues. And as I was saying in the interview, I kept praying to God and just, look, I know you don't care much for show business, but let me help you. Bay City Blues, really good, really important, a lot of residuals, going to be on the air.
Yeah.
New Kid in Town, $100 a day, nobody really knows, nobody cares. So I get to the finals in both of them, and Bay City Blues, I go in and meet Stephen Bochco, the executive producer.
Yeah.
And when I walked in, I did the audition the same way I'd done it before, but I could just tell there was something about him. When I walked in, there was just something felt slightly different. And I saw my wonderful agent, Geraldine Badgley, after that. And they'd already given me a contract. It was a 6-figure contract, and I was in my 20s. I felt like I was billionaire. And Geraldine, I saw her a couple hours later, and she said they took the offer back. And I said, why? And she said, well, they don't feel like you're husky enough or chubby enough for a catcher. That is supposed to be a catcher. I said, do you really think that's it? And she said, no. She was, do you want to know what I think? I said, yeah. I said, I'm confused. And she said, look, this is just my opinion, but this is what I think happened. I think Stephen came from back east, and he's the man. He wants everyone to know, I'm the man. It's my show. And when you walked in today, he just didn't want to hear any more about you. He didn't want them telling you who was going to go in his show. And he just kind of put his foot down like, hey, my show, I'm the kingmaker, and I'm taking this guy out today. And that's what happened. And I didn't get it. So I go back to my apartment. There's a message from the New Kid in Town people, and they're like, hey, one more audition. Come on in, and we want you to meet one of the other actors, but we don't have any offices. We want you to meet at a hot dog stand. So I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So I go down to this hot dog stand, meet the other actor, and once you know it, we have chemistry. I end up getting the job. And the punchline of the story is Bay City Blues got canceled after 4 episodes. It was a bomb. New Kid in Town got made, and that guy that I met at the hot dog stand became my best friend for life, Gary Hirschberger. I was the best man at his wedding. He was the best man at my wedding. We've been the best of friends from that day forward. And it just kind of showed me the way that God works in your life. But that movie ended up being one of the happiest I've ever been on a movie set. It really was. I really loved it.
Wow.
With J.J. Cohen.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I interviewed him last September. I think to myself, why? He drove me crazy, that guy.
I'm just curious. I know how he drove us crazy, but I'm thinking, how can he drive you crazy? What did he do?
Okay, well, he told me his life story during the course of the interview, and it all fits together. He went through a period where he was doing drugs and alcohol, and he eventually got blacklisted by the business. And I can see it because he takes charge of the conversation. I only got to ask maybe 4 or 5 interviews or 5 questions that I had listed for the interview, and he just kept taking me to this story, that story, just telling me a bunch of stuff I didn't even need to know. And then he kind of bullied me a little bit afterwards. He didn't like the picture that I put on the thumbnail of the video, just a lot of stuff. He was very difficult.
Yeah, it's so funny. When I heard you say that, I thought, when you wrote that to me, I thought, it's exactly how he was on the set.
Really? So?
Oh, my God, 100%. I just thought, you're kidding me. He hasn't changed. No, he was a funny guy, but a royal pain in the ass.
Yeah.
He really was.
And his
never changed.
Yeah, his story about how he got cast in this movie is a lot simpler than yours. He went to an audition for Revenge of the Nerds to play Booger, and Paradise Motel was casting in the same building, and so he failed that audition and then got cast in Paradise Motel instead.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought maybe there was going to be a story like that where you were up for a role in Revenge of the Nerds.
No, it was Bay City Blues, and I remember coming over to this film and going, "Oh my God, you totally got this messed up. I want the Bay City Blues, big money, as opposed to this one." And this one ended up giving me my best. Gary and I are best friends to this day.
Mm-hmm.
The movies. He still is. In my last movie, Faith, Hope, and Love.
Yeah.
Guy pounding on the window. If you watch it, that's scary.
Yeah. I was thinking about reaching out to him, possibly.
Great guy. Man.
Yeah. Wow. Bay City Blues. I've talked to Michelle Green, who was on that show. She told me she had a much better time on that show than she did on L.A. Law, because.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Michelle was in my class at the Loft.
Oh yeah.
Yes. In fact, we did a scene together.
Mm-hmm. Great lady.
I think she was dating. Is his name Hoblet? One of the producers. In fact, yeah, he was the producer of Bay City Blues. Hoblet. Gregory Hoblet. That was his name. He was the guy that tried me out for the baseball portion of Bay City Blues. He was a jerk. The guy's throwing the ball at your head and all this stuff, and he's like, "Come on now, let's see if you can catch the ball." That was Greg Hoblet. Yeah, I don't know if they ever got married or whatever happened.
Yeah, I don't think they got married and stuff. I do know she was married briefly at some point, though. But how was working with Carrie Medaway?
I love Carrie. I'm surprised Carrie has not gone on to do other stuff. I know he did Heavenly Kid. And then I remember after that, I saw him someday. We were on the road. I happened to bump into each other, and I think he just had a kid going back probably, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago or something like that. And he was just he was a easygoing guy, and he was dealing with a lot of young actors, myself included.
Yeah.
Really didn't know, a whole lot about the process, and he was a wonderful guy. He was very easy to work with, and just very, very sweet, and I really liked him a lot. But I think he did 2 films. I don't think he ever worked after that.
Yeah, he did The Heavenly Kid, which I love. That movie has had an impact on my life over the years.
That was another guy that was at the Loft. Jason.
Oh, Jason Gedrick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Loft too. Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried to reach. I found out that Carrie teaches at Hollywood High, and I've tried reaching out to him through his email. I never heard back. And then Lewis Smith, who played the Heavenly Kid, who's a very successful acting teacher. I've tried getting in touch with him. No response either, and I hope I do get one of them eventually this year. But
he was a great guy, very, very easygoing, and we were all really young, very young, and he managed to, he handled us very nicely. Very sweet guy, very, very wonderful. I remember driving to the set the first day, and Roger Stone was the producer, and I walked on the set, and I remember telling him, "I think this is the happiest day of my life. I've never been this happy, and I know this is what I'm supposed to do." And I remember Roger said, "You're lucky. Some people don't find that their whole life."
Yeah.
Really, really happy on that. I just had one of the best times of my life.
Well, that's great. Yeah. So then, how did you get to be the bystander with a date in Back to the Future?
Yeah. Eric, the guy that not really, all the people who were in our class. Eric Stoltz was in our class.
Right.
And so Eric was gone, and we're like, "Oh, he's doing this movie Back to the Future." And then, like, a couple weeks later, Eric's back in his black coat, and it looks like he's coming from a funeral. And you're looking at it like, "Hey, what happened?" And as the story goes, they went a different direction on Back to the Future, and they fired him. And shortly thereafter, they were redoing it, and my agent called up and said, "Hey, do you want to do a day's work on this movie Back to the Future?" And I go, "I think it's a bomb." Eric's been in and out. Like, all right, you know what? I'm going to class now. Swing by on the way there and do it. So Sachi Parker, who was also in my class, Shirley MacLaine's daughter, both going to do it. And we get in our little wagon there. We're waiting for our call on the set. And it was supposed to be like 6 o'clock, and it was 8 o'clock, then 10 o'clock, then midnight. And it like 2 in the morning. I'm like, oh my, this movie's they haven't got their act together. This is gonna be a buck. I think it was 4 in the morning. We got golden time, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna make a lot of money, but whatever. And I think I had 2 or 3 lines of dialogue, and late in the night, and Bob Zemeckis is a speaker. He goes, hey, Robert Krantz. I said, yeah. He goes, just say that's George McFly. And I'm like, seriously? And he goes, yeah. And I go, all right. So I just say that's George McFly. And the guy who's playing McFly, my God, realizing all these people, he was also in Peggy's class. I can't remember his name, Crispin Glover.
Yes.
And I say that's George McFly, that thing, and I think, this is going to be a bomb. And then I think it was 4, 5, 6 months later, they gave me a ticket, and I went to it. And about halfway through the movie, I'm thinking, oh my God, I hope I'm in this movie still. And I was. It was cool. It was really great. I still get checks for it.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, the girl with you is Sachi Parker, who is Shirley MacLaine's daughter.
Yep. She's fantastic, and she's a wonderful person. Very kind, very, very good person. And I don't know if she still acts, but she was great.
Yeah, I do know she came out with a memoir in a one-woman show about her relationship with her mother about, 7, 8 years ago or something.
Right.
They said it was kind of hard-hitting and stuff. I think maybe she's kind of trying to be out of the limelight for a while because of the reaction of it.
Yeah. I'm sure that was tough for her. Probably tough for both of us, have that out there. But
yeah.
Get it.
Were you there just for one night?
It was just one night. Oh my gosh, I wonder if Sasha even remembers that. If I ask her about it, she must die laughing when she thinks about it. But yeah, I was there for one night.
Yeah. What was your reaction though when the movie blew up?
Holy crap! I remember saying to my manager, I called her up and I'm like, "Hey, good news and bad. I just walked out of the theater. The good news is I'm in a hit movie. The bad news is I have one line, but it's a hit movie." I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. I think there were some people at the time that were saying that this movie could do well, but I never heard that it was going to be a complete bomb that everyone bought,
Oh, my God. I think they had $6 million worth of footage that they ate. That they just said, okay, we got to, eat this footage, that the stuff with Eric in it. I guess, when you're Steven Spielberg, you can do that stuff. But, man, that was crazy.
Well, I've seen the footage that was cut out. I mean, we didn't really miss anything,
All right.
Yeah, it was just needless stuff, though. But the movie turned out great. It's definitely my favorite movie of all time.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Did you get recognized every day just for that one line?
No, it's funny though. Now when I do speaking engagements and stuff, and I say Back to the Future, you can feel like everyone starts playing the whole movie in their head. So I have to stop. Jokingly, I stop and go, okay, I know what you're all thinking. Let me do the scene for you. And I go through and tell them this is the scene. And oh, right, you're that guy. And even if you go on social, you go on YouTube, and you look it up. There's they have that scene cut out. And probably from all my friends looking it up and going, yeah, that is him.
Yeah. You're the fourth person I've had on with JJ, Harry Waters Jr., and Claudia Wells, who was the first Jennifer. She's actually coming back on for the second time later today, so I'm pulling a Back to the Future doubleheader.
It was great. It was beautiful to be in a hit movie, and something I remember sitting in that theater, and it's a great feeling to be part of something with it so successful.
Yeah. And Michael, God, he had a crazy schedule for 3 months on that.
He was great. That set was really great. He was great. Crispin was really a kind person. I remember he was out there 2, 3 in the morning, and I know we had mutual respect because we worked, we'd seen each other in class, but all the stuff that, 2 in the morning people don't want to do when you're off camera, walking away, smiling, all that stuff, he did all of it. He's just a really good guy. I really liked him.
Oh, that's good. And then, let's see, you guest starred on Who's the Boss?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was rough. Tony, I think, wanted to fire me the entire week. I think that he, I talk like this, but then when I would do the scene, I go, hey, Tony, what is it? And he's like, who talks like that? Nobody talks like that. Why are you talking like that, Yeah. And then I kept going back every night, and I would meet with Gary Hirschberger, and I'd show him the scene, and I go, Gary, they're going to fire me. He's like, Tony really is pissed off.
Yeah.
Like, Bob, it's funny. Tony's funny. I'd go back the next day, threaten to fire me again. And then came the day where we shot it, and I walked in, and that audience went crazy. They almost gave me a show after that.
Really?
Yeah. Mona did a spin-off, and I almost got that spin-off from that, but that was really... Tony was tough, man. He was really tough, but in the end, he was very sweet.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that about him.
For that week, he was rough. Man, it was just, when you have a position of power,
mm-hmm.
The movies I make now that I'm fortunate to be the producer, the writer, director, you have to handle that power graciously. You don't want to wear it heavy. And Tony was just, I don't know what it was. I happened to meet one of the producers
mm-hmm.
About 6 months or a year after that. He said Tony was saying that he was only going to do 2 or 3 days. He wanted somebody to come in as a stand-in for the other days. He wanted to be there for the full 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And the producer said, we were going to come get you just to piss him off. Nah, thanks. I didn't need to get punched out by Tony. So, it was a great show. I had a great time, the actual doing of it. And it was great. It was a very successful episode.
Yeah, Boom Boom Mancini was in it.
Ray, I got to know Ray and got to talk to him a lot about boxing and stuff like that. Ray was great. Very. I remember when I was right after he'd had that unfortunate incident in Las Vegas where in the ring he had killed another boxer. And to walk next to him when you walk up, you would never think, maybe he was 5'5", maybe,
mm-hmm.
or 6, and but man, that guy was incredible in the ring. But another very kind person from Ohio, very nice guy.
Yeah, I talked to Doug McKeon, who played him in a TV movie of the week. I think he met him, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm. Yeah, he was a very good guy. I think he was friends with Tony too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, all Brooklyn guys, they know each other.
Right.
Do you have a short circuit story?
Short circuit. Yeah, I do. Oh gosh, it's probably not the nicest story, but it did teach me a lesson about life.
Mm-hmm.
So I came in and read with the final actresses,
mm-hmm.
and the director John Badham, who was a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
There was 3 or 4. Unfortunately, one of the few memories I have of that was I was able to read with the actresses that were reading for the lead role.
Right.
And it was Ali Sheedy, and there was a girl, she had just come off of Beverly Hills Cop 1 or 2, I can't remember which.
Lisa Eilbacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was her. And does she still act?
You know what? I don't think she does, but I heard she's going to be signing autographs at the Hollywood show in August if it goes off without a hitch, coincidentally.
Well, if you ever see her, tell her this story.
Okay.
So I was the guy reading that day with all the actresses, the finalists that came out. I think there was 3. And I remember Lisa, she came in, if that was her,
mm-hmm.
and she said, oh, God, I haven't been able to keep anything down for a week. And I know what that feels like because you're so nervous. You want these movies so bad, and it's like a big move, and excuse me.
Yeah.
And so and Ali Sheedy was the other finalist. And Ali had worked with John Badham in War Games.
Right.
So you got the sense that John wanted to work with her again.
Mm-hmm.
She came in, she starts reading, and she was very kind, but she was so nervous she kind of started messing up her lines early on in the reading. And I remember the camera just kept running, and John was like, all right, go back, try it again. And she would make a mistake. He'd say, all right, why don't we try, do this? So you're a little nervous, blah, blah, blah. Away, it just kept going, and she was done like in 5-10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Said goodbye to her, and then Allie came in, and same thing happened. Allie may have been a little nervous, and she made a mistake early on, and he said, okay, let's stop. And he corrected her to do this and that. Mm-hmm. When he came back towards where I was sitting near the camera, he leaned over to the operator and said, rewind it.
Wow.
And I just remember thinking, oh, man, that poor girl does not realize that, they're going to make, when these tapes get handed, it's going to look like Allie came in and just bam, 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 nailed it. And this other girl, it's going to make it look like, didn't go that well. Mm-hmm. And I felt like she never knew that. And it just bummed me out. I just, it makes you, as an actor, it made me realize that there are things that happen behind the scenes that sometimes you're just unaware of that are beyond your control. And I just have to let it go.
Wow. And so he just casted you as a reporter.
Yeah, I was a guy, because I came in and read really well when I was in there with them that day. And he's like, all right, play the reporter, whatever. And if you look, that's John Badham holding the camera. He's the actual reporter, or the cameraman of that scene.
Oh, wow.
So, John was great. John did Saturday Night Fever, and so I would talk about Saturday Night Fever, and he was a very nice man.
Oh, yeah. He also did the Black Baseball movie, the Bingo Traveling All-Star Motor Kings, whatever it was called. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's done some pretty good movies, Stakeout, a lot of good stuff.
Is he still director? He's probably up there in age at this point.
Yeah, he's probably retired.
Yeah.
Now, I've talked to Fritz Kirsch about Winners Take All, and he said that's a movie he wished he could do over again, and that it didn't turn out the way he thought it would and stuff. But how did you feel about making that movie?
As I recall, I think towards the end they replaced Fritz with, I don't know what, if it went over budget or something happened. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But I like Fritz. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a trip.
I think he's teaching in Oklahoma or something like that. Or
yeah, he's in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Fritz is a very nice guy, and there was a guy on that set. Oh, good Lord. I can't remember. He played like the manager or something, and that guy made J.J. Cohen look tame. This guy was, I don't know if this guy, I can't remember his name, the manager, he was all over the map, and I think he had some issues going on in his life, and he was one moment happy, one moment sad and crazy, and he's just kind of low, and he made a lot of those scenes kind of difficult. But if there was one moment I remember, the other actor that was opposite of myself, I can't remember his name now. He, at the very end, he turned to me and he goes, Robert, you can't make steak out of hamburger, and this script is hamburger. And I remember thinking, I think you're right. We're all trying here, but there's only so much to do, and I just think I haven't seen that movie probably in, 30 years, and I don't know what it turned out, but I remember when they cast me in that movie, they're like, you know how to ride a motorcycle? I'm like, yeah, never been on one in my life, but learned how to fake it.
Yeah, it's been years since I've seen it too. Peter DeLuise is in it. Courtney Gaines, who's also a Back to the Future guy. Yeah, him and JJ were actually best friends back then. Yeah. Good guys, all good guys. And the whole cast was good. But the girl, she's going to kill me if I forgot her name, but the female lead is still actually a very good actress. Kathleen York? Kathleen York. She and I had the same agent at the time. She's a very good actress. Yeah, she's doing a lot of TV stuff, I see. Yeah, very nice person. Good person. Yeah, I think the same company that made the movie just before they made the other bike movie, Rad, which was a BMX movie. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I talked to Bill Allen, who was in that movie too. Right. Do you remember? I enjoy doing it. Yeah. Do you remember this pilot you did called Werewolf? I do.
happened was, there's another one. I again came in to read. Love Victoria. I can't remember her last name. Was the casting director. I really liked her. She's very cool casting director. Mm-hmm. So come on and read. And I remember reading for the 5 finalists for the lead role in Werewolf. Mm-hmm. And the guy coming off of Goonies was clearly the best one. He was the most famous one. And I just thought, what are we doing this for? You know, you're going to hire the guy from Goonies. He's going to give you the most bang for your buck. And the guy came in. Goonies did a good job. Then the other guy came in that ultimately got it, and he was horrible. He just was not good. And I remember when they asked me to come back to be in it, and I was like, what happened to the Goonies dude? Like, what did Stephen J. Cannell? I think Stephen J. Cannell was the producer of it. And at the end of the day, I was walking out, I saw one of the makeup people, or I can't think it was a makeup person, and I said, what am I missing here? Like, what? How did that Goonies guy not get this guy? Just to show you, if you go back and look at the scenes I'm at, the guy was just not that good at acting. They had to reshoot all of his stuff that I did with him. They had to redo the whole thing because he just wasn't that good. He got better, I think. I think he ended up doing a soap opera or something. And she said, you know what it was? The Goonies guy came in. It was like, I just finished a Spielberg film, came in, did it, walked out. The guy that got the role came in and went, oh, my God, Mr. Stephen J. Cannell, I can't believe it's you. This is so great. And, you know, he made him feel like a king.
Yeah.
Stephen J. Cannell feel like the man. And that's what Stephen J. wanted coming to the set every day. And that's what he got. The guy that was like, oh, man, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And, but I remember that role, it was, I got to play comedy and do something different. I really had a lot of fun in that role.
Yeah. It was one of the early Fox shows, too.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing that.
Mm-hmm. How about the Billionaire Boys Club?
Billionaire Boys Club was really topical. That was like, I remember going to the premiere of that, and like every star was there. And that was a really big moment. And Marvin Chomsky was the director. He was very nice to me, kind. And I think that's when I started to feel like I was starting to hit my stride in acting, because I'd been doing it for, I think at that point, 6 or 7 years. And I remember during one of the scenes, we were doing the scene, and Marvin, in the middle of the scene, said something. And I remember turning to him. It was a scene where I told him I'm going to start carrying a gun. And Marvin said something like, okay, wait, he just stopped. And I remember I looked at him like, what the hell are you doing here? He looked at me like, I'm the director. And I went, oh my God, I was so focused on what we were discussing. And it was in this warehouse, and it was life and death stuff. I was so locked in. I couldn't believe that. My turn, like, oh, whoa, geez. Step off the gas pedal for a second.
Yeah.
I was so locked in. And I had a feeling we were doing pretty good on that show. And I think it came out pretty good. I don't remember too much. I haven't seen it forever. But I think it came out pretty good. And for the most part, I had a pretty good time working on it.
Did you work with Jill Sholin?
Did I were any of my scenes with Jill? I knew her somehow. I can't remember how I knew her. But I don't think I actually did. I don't recall. Most of my scenes with the guys getting in trouble, doing stupid stuff. we were the group of guys that were just, every scene like we were plotting to do something horrible in the script,
Yeah. I've talked to Jill twice. She's a great lady.
Yeah. Years since I've seen any of those people.
Yeah. How was working with Andy Griffith on Matlock?
I never got to work with Andy, but that, again, every one of these movies or TV shows I did, every one of them contributed, started teaching me something. And that particular one, I remember I play a DJ, and there's a bunch of buttons I'm supposed to hit and sound effects I'm supposed to make. But when you're doing it, none of that's there. They put it in post. So you have to create the movement in the actual shooting where you're hitting knobs and all this stuff. no problem. So I do the audition, I get the job, and as I'm thinking, okay, they'll probably just get me out of there.
Mm-hmm.
You know it. It's right before Thanksgiving, and they shoot the whole day, and at the very end, they're shooting my scene last. And I remember when I sat up in that booth, the DJ booth, the entire crew just looked at me like, you are going to do this in one take, aren't you? Because we want to get the hell out of here because it's Thanksgiving break.
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking, oh, man, you guys, seriously, like, I'm not going to get a couple of takes to warm up here or something. So I remember doing it, just nailing it on the first take, and that discipline never left me after that day. That discipline of first take, getting it, no matter how complex it is, to get it, because, and we did, I think we did 2 takes, but we were out of there and everyone was happy, and I just remember thinking, that's when I started to understand that I had developed a pretty good skill set, that I could do stuff, and that stayed with me forever. And the movies I make now, because as you're the writer and producer and actor and all that stuff, people expect you. So you got to set the tone. Do it in 1 or 2 takes. You can't be sitting there for 10, 15 takes.
Right.
And a lot of times the other actors go before me, and if they're messing up, taking 5, 6, 7 takes, it means by the time they get to me, we got to get one and get out of here. So it puts a lot of pressure on me. But I've dealt with it ever since that day. I've had to deal with it so much. I'm pretty adept at dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. Ironically, the woman who's in that, who played Andy Griffith's sidekick, she is in Faith, Hope, and Love with me.
Mm-hmm.
And she plays the waitress in Faith, Hope, and Love. And so we'd worked together before.
Yeah, you've established these relationships with people, and you've learned a lot.
We know each other, but all of a sudden, we were like on the set. I'm like, hey, you worked on that show, and we started talking about it.
Yeah. I believe that, a higher power brings people back into your life for a reason. Yeah. At times, How about 21 Jump Street?
I knew Johnny. We used to have the same agent.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hadn't seen him for probably 4 or 5 years. Came on the set, and he was up in Vancouver. Had a great time. Went out to dinner with him. Had a great time. Very nice guy. Had a very good time working with him. Easygoing, and it was just a good experience. Just had a good time doing it. Enjoyed doing it. Good episode, and good memories. Johnny was a good guy. No issues with him. A really good guy. I wish, I see Johnny now, and I remember working with him, and his life seems like it's gotten so much more hectic and complicated. He was this very sweet guy back then. We went out to dinner, laughed a lot. He's a good person, and it makes me sad sometimes when I see all that he's been through.
Yeah. I mean, he seems to handle, fame well, in the sense that, he does what he wants, and he doesn't do it through the conventions of what, a famous movie star does,
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like, I think...
I haven't seen him in ages, but good guy. I like him.
Yeah. Now, you wrote a movie called Do You Want to Dance? How did that come about?
What happened was, right around the time She's Gotta Have It came out and Brothers McMullen came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking at those, and I had sold, I think, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 movies to the studios that I wrote. Back when I was telling you how I was going to be, similar to Warren Beatty, Paul Newman, all those guys, where they would act and direct and write and produce and all that. Mm-hmm. And Clint Eastwood as well. And so I had sold a bunch of screenplays to the studios, and they would go into what you call development hell.
Mm-hmm.
They'd pay me for them, a lot of money for them, and then the new regime would come in at the studio, they'd throw the old stuff out, and your film was one of them, and they were never getting made. And finally I thought, I saw Spike Lee's film, She's Gotta Have It, and Brothers McMullen, I think I can do this. And so instead of selling these things, and they don't get made, you're like, oh, this sucks. I thought, I'm going to go make this film, and that changed my life. That film absolutely changed my life. We made it. It was before the so-called faith-based movies. It was before anything Greek. It was before My Big Fat Greek Wedding had come out.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of blended all those things, dance and faith and Greek element, and that changed my life. We ended up selling foreign rights to a company, and it opened up in a few theaters domestically, but I had to start to develop a following after that, especially in the Greek community. People started to know who I was, and it allowed me. What happened, though, right as we were releasing that film, my wife and I had triplet boys, and that put my life on hold for the next 15 years. If you look at IMDb, maybe a couple credits after that.
Yeah.
It just went on hold after that because we almost lost our 3 kids. And once they were born, I was like, okay, this is going to be the focus of my life until they don't need me so much anymore. And that turned out to be when they were sophomores in high school. I made another film called Christmas with the Cruises. I hadn't made a film, I think, in 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came home on the last day of shooting of that film, my son George had written a note on the steps and it said, "Are you done yet?" That was his way of saying, "I don't want you making movies." And I told my wife, I said, "I'm not going to make another movie until they're in college." And so the day they went into their freshman year in college was the day we started pre-production on my next film, which was Faith, Hope, and Love.
Wow, that's amazing. And was the business getting tough and just what's the word I'm looking for? Backstabbing by that point?
It has always been that way, but it actually was getting easier, and I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
When I left it was getting easier in this sense. Over the last 15 to 20 years, the playing field has been leveled greatly. In other words, before you used to have to, if you couldn't get a studio to buy your film, you could not make money.
Yeah.
What happened was, and you had to develop film, actual film, not digital stuff. Everything has gotten so much easier electronically to make movies.
Mm-hmm.
And number one, but number two, you don't need a studio to buy it anymore to make money.
Yeah.
You have to know who your audience is. You can go out into social media and all that stuff. If you know how to do it, you can make a movie and make money. And it was the great equalizer, and it's just great not having to need a studio anymore. It's great.
Yeah.
It never happened.
Yeah. Where did the idea for Faith, Hope, and Love come from?
I was at the gym one day, and I was supposed to make a movie of a book I'd written called Falling in Love with Sophia. And I was walking out of I just finished working out, and I was going to get water. And I got some water, I looked over, and I saw this dance class going on. And it couldn't have been more than 5 yards away. But by the time I went from the water cooler to the seat near the dance studio, the idea hit me. And I remember thinking, that'd be a great idea. And I went home and wrote it on a piece of paper. I kept the piece of paper. Actually, it's behind me on my desk. And I wrote, it was on February 8th, 2013. I wrote, at gym, got water, sat and saw ladies taking a dance class. This would make this, they were older women and really trying. And I thought of this movie. I guess wrote Get Up and Dance or Save the Last Dance for Me. Great idea. A single father wins a series of dance lessons with his daughters. School raffle, and has to dance with a pro. Pro is something into a pro, and it turns into a pro and schmo contest to help raise money for her dance school. And that is basically what that movie was. And that was 7 years ago, 7.5 years ago. Wow.
Wow. So it was a 7-year journey from the time you got the idea to when it got released?
Yeah, just about. Yeah. It was, I just developed, and all those things we just talked about, all those skills all came into play in that movie. It really did. It took all my energy and, understanding of film business and all that. And Netflix ended up buying it.
Oh, it's on Netflix?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, it's and the feedback on it has just been beyond. I mean, I jokingly say my mom could not have written nicer things to me It's been incredible. The people have written about it has just been incredible.
Yeah, you've gotten a great cast for it. I see Ed Asner, Emmett Walsh, Corbin Burnson, Michael Richards. Oh, did he make everyone laugh on set?
He's just a great guy. He was very, very easy to work with. And the great thing about all those guys, if they come to the set and see you're not monkeying around, and that you're serious about what you're doing, you're not going to have any problems with them. They want to act. They want to be, work properly, to get in there and try and make the best product. And they were great. I loved to work. They're just all very good actors and very enjoyable for me to work with. He was great. Loved Michael.
Nice, nice. Why do you think that the romantic comedy has been dead in recent years?
Well, I think it's like when I studied the gangster genre when I was in film school.
Yeah.
You go back to Little Caesar and all those films, and you go like, oh, it's kind of dying, and then along comes The Godfather and takes the same elements, but it makes it look like it's never been done before.
Yeah.
I think that what has to happen is you can't give the same old romantic comedy over and over and over again. You've got to have a new twist on it. I think it's one of the things that made our movie successful. Faith-based films got kind of corny. There's usually crummy camera work and crummy acting and all that kind of stuff. You never saw faith-based romantic comedy with dance in it. That was fresh.
Yeah.
That's when I think people went like, oh, this is different. You have to come back with something different, and I think people will respond to it.
Yeah, I think that there has been more horror movies and more westerns made than any other genres, and I don't think by this point you can reinvent those at all anymore.
Right.
I think they've been done.
Right. Probably right.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many westerns. I mean, there were big ones, there were small ones, there were revisionists, there was just, God, so many westerns back in the day. They were just cranking them out, the studio system. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you have any projects that you were working on before the pandemic?
I did. In fact, the pandemic made me sit and finish it. And so there was a movie that we're probably about 5-6 months away from starting to film called A Marriage Made in Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be, that'll probably, you never know, as I said in an interview the other day, that's what I anticipate, but you never know if it's going to get made, not made. Hopefully it will. We're just getting all the budgeting and all that put together. I hope to make it in somewhere in the fall or winter this year or early next year.
Mm-hmm. It's another romantic comedy?
Yep, faith-based romantic comedy with dance. And I always think, like, okay, that'll be the last one, I'll switch, but the ideas just keep coming to me in that genre, as long as they do, and as long as I find them to be interesting. This one is about to ask the question, if you had to relive 1 week of your life,
mm-hmm.
which week would it be? That's the question. You had to relive 1 week of your life, which week would you pick?
Yeah.
That's what the question is.
What other genres would you like to make?
Thrillers. I like thrillers. I'd written a thriller that I sold, and Roar of the Lion. And I wouldn't mind making. So I'd love to make a cop film. That would be great. Something like that. But every time I finish one, I start thinking of the next, and I end up doing a romantic comedy. But one of these days, I want to do something different. I'd still like to do it in the faith-based genre, but make it different.
Hitchcock-style thriller.
Sidney Lumet.
Sidney Lumet. Yeah.
Lumet is the man.
Yeah, oh yeah. Death Trap, Prince of the City, great movies.
Yeah. Oh man, Sidney Lumet was the best.
Yeah, one of the greats. Well, Robert, I thank you so much for coming on today. This has been great.
It's my pleasure. You got my number. If I ever do anything interesting that you want to check in with me again, feel free to. And I consider it an honor that you even called me.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, sir. Absolutely. And hopefully after this pandemic, you'll get to make your next romantic comedy. But I will check out Faith, Hope, and Love. I will check it out.
Yep. Very cool. All right. Let me know. Text me or shoot me a social message and let me know what you think of it.
Absolutely, sir. You have yourself a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Robert Krantz. Ain't he a cool dude? Nice guy, great stories. Very humble, moving forward in his life and career. I love the journeyman actor, journeyman filmmaker. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes. Gonna go back in time.